think I've been here for days, maybe months now. I'm hungry, but I do not starve. I'm thirsty, but I do not die of dehydration. I'm tired, yet I can't sleep. I don't entirely know where I am. All I know is that I'm in a hallway. It's not very long, but it's dark here. The only source of light is a small dim light bulb hanging from the center of the hall. It's just enough for me to see my surroundings, though. There's a small wooden table sitting in the middle of the hall, against the walls. There's a white pot sitting atop of it. The walls are gray. The floors are in a black and white checkered pattern. There's a window that sits at the end of the hall. The downpour of rain echoes endlessly across the walls as it hits against the glass. The final piece is at both ends of the hall. There is a dark blue door with a golden knob. I want you to listen to this, and I want you to listen closely. You're on the clock now, just like I was, and I want you to really heed this warning. Okay, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm telling you everything I know as quickly as I can, because I really want out of here. And though there isn't much I can give, there is some knowledge that I think you can take away. I do remember how it all began, though how long ago it was, I don't know. I remember scrolling on my phone, looking for something to interest me. I think I was bored at the time. I don't know. I soon stumbled upon this story that was about the exact same hallway I just described, though the narrator's hall and experience was different from mine. His hall, I think, was full of mannequins, and I think he mentioned them seeming to switch positions if you looked away for too long. I remember enjoying that story. And you warned me. You warned me and I didn't listen. And now I'm here. He said he got 5 months. 5 months before being sent here. I only had 4 days. I remember the first day I woke up here. I knew immediately that something was wrong. Once I felt something hard against my back and opened my eyes to see that dim light bulb dangling just above me. I think I laid there for a little while, feeling so confused. Then memories came flooding back. I think I was at a party the night before, if I'm not mistaken. I think anyway. I remember sitting up and clutching my head as the throbbing pain began to set in as a result of last night's events. I remember sitting there for a few moments to recuperate before slowly rising to my feet and taking in my surroundings. I was pretty confused when I had looked around to see the hall that I had just described. The black and white checkered floor, the small wooden table with the white pot atop it, and each end of the hall having a dark blue door. I didn't know why someone would have a door at each end, but it was whatever to me at the time. I didn't know which way I felt like going. Both sides of the hall looked pretty identical, save for the window to the left of one of the doors. I remember shaking my head in slight frustration before just heading over to the door with the window next to it. My head throbbed with even more pain than before, just listening to the pattering of the rain from outside. I gripped a hold of the knob before pushing the door open, and My jaw dropped in surprise at what I saw on the other side. I honestly couldn't believe it, and I still can't. I looked ahead and then looked behind before turning back again. What lay before me was an exact replica of the hall that I had just exited. The small table in the middle with the white pot atop it. The dim light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Black and white checkered floor, gray walls, the window, rain, and, well, the dark blue door with the golden doorknob. I remember stepping into the replica, my brow furrowed in confusion, I think. I was so baffled at what I was seeing. I remember jolting as I heard the door behind me slide shut before a low click sounded. I remember spinning on my heel and immediately reaching out for the knob and twisting it. I was terrified when I found that it was locked and couldn't be opened anymore. It left me even more confused. I tried to think what on earth could be possibly going on, trying to come to any sort of logical conclusion, something that made sense. Then there was one thought that hit my mind. I believed that this might be a bad trip of some sort. I remember how me and my friends usually did some of the more hardcore stuff from time to time. I recall deciding that I would just move along just to see what would happen. I remember thinking that if it was just a bad trip, then everything would be fine. It would all be over soon. I no longer believe that to be the case. I remember traversing the hall and stopping when I had reached the middle. I had noticed some thin strands of cobwebs that were lining against where the walls and the ceiling met. I remember rubbing my arms as an uncomfortable feeling of something crawling against my body began to overtake me. I never liked the sight of cobwebs, because I knew that one of those meant that there was most likely an 8-legged freak crawling about nearby. Just the idea of being in the room with one of those, I'm uncomfortable with it. I picked up my pace and, rushed over to the door and gripped a hold of the doorknob. Before turning it, something caught my eye to the left, and I looked over. I was surprised when I looked out at the window. There was nothing there. And I mean literally nothing. It was pitch black outside, like an empty void. You could see some of the rain falling, and a lot of it sliding down the glass, but other than that, there was nothing. I turned away and pushed the door open. Stepping through, I was once again shocked at what I saw. It was another replica of the same damn hallway. The wooden table with the white pot atop it, the dim light bulb hanging from the middle of the ceiling, the black and white checkered floor, the gray wall, the window to the left of the dark blue door that lay all the way at the end. But this had a slight difference. I wasn't sure what scared me more. The fact that I had entered into the same hallway again, or the fact that there was even more webbing than before. I told it again as the door behind me slid shut once more. I tried the knob again to find it locked. And then I turned back, examining the hallway. The webbing was much thicker than before. There were even a few strands that dangled from the light bulb. What terrified me the most was seeing those tiny black shapes scuttling across the light, their spindly legs moving so quickly as they traversed the bulb. I wanted so badly to get out of the room, so badly, but I knew I couldn't. The door was locked, and the only way was forward. And I wanted out. So I began to move. It felt terrible as I inched further down the hall. That feeling of something crawling over my skin returned tenfold. I was rubbing my arms the whole way there, smacking against the back of my neck, just wanting that feeling to go away. My eyes widened in terror when I had reached the center and was standing just below the light bulb. One of those things had detached itself from it and was dangling just above me by a thin piece of webbing. Its 8 beady eyes seemed focused on me as it lowered itself closer and closer, its legs moving in such an unnatural way. I immediately turned and fled, scrambling for the doorknob before twisting it open and practically diving into the other side. What greeted me was so much worse. It was the same hall once again. The wooden table, the white pot, gray walls, black and white checkered floor, the dim light bulb hanging in the middle of the ceiling, the window, and the dark blue door all the way at the end. There was so much webbing. The place was smothered in it. All these large, thick strands over the walls. It covered the ceiling, the floor. So much of it that even hanged from the light bulb, making it even dimmer. What terrified me most was the sound. I could barely hear the pattering of the rain. Barely hear it over the scuttling of what sounded to be numerous. I don't even know how to describe it. It sounded as if there were thousands of those things moving about the hall. What made it even worse was the fact that I couldn't see where any of them were. Though I could hear them, they were nowhere in sight. I didn't know what to do. I think I stood there for hours, too afraid to even move. I didn't know what to do. That feeling, something crawling against my skin, it returned again, but it was so much more excruciating. Eventually, I finally took the first step forward and began to creep down the hall. I remember my eyes darting around the entire area, checking to make sure where they were. I could never find them. I halted when I reached the middle of the hall. I had realized where the source of the noise was coming from, and I turned to look at the white pot. To this very moment, I still don't know why I looked inside, but I did. I theorized that my paranoia may have been getting the better of me, and that I just wanted to check to make sure, to confirm my suspicion, if they were there. Peeking inside caused me to stumble back. Hundreds, maybe thousands of those tiny black spiders were moving about the interior of the pot. They crawled over one another as they moved, some of them falling out and onto the table, where they then crawled away. I turned and sprinted away, grabbing a hold of the doorknob before shoving the door wide open and slamming it shut behind me. I spun around to see that I was still in the same damn hallway. The wooden table with the white pot atop of it, the gray walls, the dim light bulb hanging in the middle of the ceiling, black and white checkered floor, the window to the left at the end of the hall, right next to the dark blue door. I felt myself relax a little for the first time during this. There wasn't anything extra. No webbing, nothing. Not even any of those tiny black spiders. I still traversed the hall, though, checking each spot, anywhere that I thought those things could hide. I halted, my eyes widening as I looked at the window. There were 3 of them. 3 of them. They were much larger than the ones in the previous halls. 3 of those 8-legged things somehow clinging on to the glass of the window despite the downpour of rain from outside. They are huge. Abnormally huge. I backed away. I didn't know how to respond to it. My instincts told me to run through that door again, but I fought against it. If this was here, I did not want to see what would be next. So I wait. And it's gotten worse. Somehow, it's still gotten worse. As I try to get this message out there, I've looked at one of my hands. My left one. My skin. That feeling of something crawling along my skin. I see those shapes beneath my skin. The skin of my hand. The same shape of those damn spiders. They don't move, but if I twitch just a little, sometimes they do the same. Just one of those tiny legs I can see twitching and moving beneath my skin. And so now I type this out. Not too long ago, as I waited here, I looked up at the window again. I saw the words that I began to comprehend finally after so long. I remembered that story I saw before from that poster. He said he saw the same words, written on the head of one of those mannequins in that hallway of his. His was written in black marker. Mine was written in webbing along the window. Simple phrase. Describe it. It all came to me at once. So I leave you with this. It takes you randomly. You won't know when. You can't prepare for it. It can be tonight. It can be tomorrow. It could be days from now. Months. You might even get quite a few years. But it still takes you. But I think you can prevent it. All you have to do is describe it. You can describe it to anyone. It doesn't matter. Just describe it in detail. That's why I described it as many times as I did. So that way you know what it looks like. And God save you. Because I hope you heard this all the way through. Because your fate was sealed the moment you read out or listened to that description.